guys, welcome back to Asian One-to-One Football Coaching. I'm Coach Indy. We're on episode 3 of Analysis and Tactics Board session. Today's episode we're going to be analysing a game between Barcelona and Manchester United in which Barcelona ran out 3-1 victors in the 2011 Champions League final. Now before we get stuck into the game itself, I need you all to hit the subscribe button, leave a like and leave a comment saying what you liked about the video and maybe something you want to see going forward. In terms of both teams' forms and the managers themselves, so Guardiola was the manager of Barcelona at the time. Their form was very, very strong in the Champions League, as was Manchester United's. So Barcelona played 12, won 8, drew 3 and lost 1 game. So lost a knockout game I believe it was. And Manchester United were marginally stronger, managed by Sir Alex Ferguson. They played 12, won 9, drew 3 and 0 defeats. So you expect both teams to be pretty strong because they're in the final. Just one other thing to note going into the game, 2 years prior to that, these two teams met in the Champions League final in 2009 at the Estadio Olimpico and Barcelona ran out 2-0 victors. So maybe going into the game there was a bit more motivation for Manchester United, or a bit of revenge maybe, there's a bit of a mindset. But yeah, that's just a little bit of context going into the game, possibly how Manchester United were feeling. In terms of the lineups themselves, so we've got Barcelona in the red here. They started off in a 1-4-3-3 formation. Personnel: Victor Valdez in goal, Dani Alves, fantastic Brazilian right back, alongside Mascherano, Puyol, and then Abidal come in, and I'll come to Abidal in a second in more detail. Single pivot was Sergio Busquets. Number 8 was Xavi, Iniesta. 3 up top, we had Pedro on the right side, David Villa on the left and Messi as a striker in here. So I think out of that 11 there was only one player missing that would have made that team stronger for Barcelona, and that was Carlos Puyol. Now he was nurturing an injury, he only just made it to the bench, but being around the team and stuff was a massive influence because obviously he was the captain of that team as well. So massive boost to have him on the bench. Couldn't quite make the lineup, but having him on the bench absolutely would have helped. In terms of Eric Abidal, one thing to note, he fought a tumour on his liver, and he surprisingly got the call to play the game. He was surprised. I read a little bit before the game, and he said when he got told an hour before the game that he was playing, he was shocked. But obviously he was a professional and he wanted to do the best for the team. So yeah, fair play to Abidal for fighting that and coming back stronger, and as a human and as a footballer as well. Over to Manchester United, so they played a 1-4-4-2. Van der Sar in goal, and I'll come back to him as well because something important happened to him in this game as well. Evra left back, Nemanja Vidic, Rio Ferdinand and Fabio da Silva, not Rafael, Fabio. Like I said, 4 in midfield, we started with Valencia on the right, 2 in here which was Carrick and Giggs, and then on the left, playing quite narrow actually, was Park Ji-sung. Then 2 up front was Rooney and Hernandez. So I mentioned about Van der Sar. This was his last game. He was retiring after this game. He wanted to go back to Holland. His wife was ill as well at the time, so he wanted to go back home and just be back in familiar surroundings. So maybe he had an extra motivation going into that final as well, just to sort of finish on a strong note, a winning note. In terms of the 11 itself, that was Manchester United's strongest 11 at the time in terms of form and availability. Some people might question about Fabio, but if you cast your minds back to that campaign and towards the second half of the season throughout domestically as well, Fabio was playing really, really well. This was a team that started at Chelsea in the quarterfinals, and also the team that started against Schalke in the first leg away from home, which we ran out comfortable 2-0 winners. And obviously between the semi-final first leg and second leg, Man United played Chelsea, so they wanted to play a strong team, and in the second leg they actually changed the team altogether and played a lot of this fringe players. So this team was in really, really strong form and dispatched a lot of good teams in the lead up to the final. So yeah, there's two notes to mention, Abidal and Van der Sar sort of going into the game sort of big sort of challenges and one maybe final hurrah for Van der Sar. In terms of the key moments themselves, the first thing I want to add actually is Manchester United, as soon as the team sheet came out, playing two up front was a brave thing to do. I admire Sir Alex Ferguson for doing that, and I can understand the reason behind that. And Man United's biggest strength is two strikers and the wide players going forward. That's where they're at their best. They're really, really strong going forward. And then opposite side of that, Barcelona's weakest area is the defence. Like I mentioned earlier, Abdel's just come in, and Mascherano, who ordinarily is actually a holding midfielder, he actually played centre half a lot this season. So that isn't his preferred position. So effectively, Sir Alex Ferguson's weighed up and said, where's our strength? Let's play to our strengths, versus where's our weaknesses? Let's play to their weaknesses. So I can understand that from a mindset point of view and a decision-making point of view in terms of how you want to win the game. So that's the first thing sort of to mention. In terms of the first key moment, we got to minute 27 and first goal appeared. So Barcelona shooting from left to right. The game sort of was ebbing and flowing. Barcelona had most of the possession, bulk of possession, and they created the most sort of chances as well. Let's move through these players more advanced. So first thing to add, to note, was the game was sort of flowing back and forth. Man United had plenty of counter-attack opportunities, didn't create anything, but they had opportunities to counter. And you expect Barcelona to have a lot more possession than pretty much everyone, every opponent they play against. So first decision, critical moment in the game was a moment that happened in the 27th minute. Xavi picked up the ball here, and Carrick and Giggs, so these two here, Iniesta picked up the ball. So he was here, Iniesta wasn't here. Xavi had made a run in here. I don't know if it was from a counter, so a double counter, if that makes sense. So they might have countered, and then Manchester United countered, and he just couldn't get himself back in. So he actually found himself in this position here. And he's played a clever ball beyond Carrick, his outstretched leg, and straight away to note, already Xavi now is ahead of both these two centre midfielders, and that there, if you ask any Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic, that is a massive problem, regardless of that player, because the moment that player there starts dribbling and towards the centre halves, they don't know whether to vacate their position or to just leave them or what. It's a very, very difficult position, because you mentioned here you've got Lionel Messi, he might be making a little dart in there, so can Rio afford to engage? Probably not. So Xavi picks up the ball, Giggs is trying to get back in, everyone's sort of trying to get back in. Pedro, Evra is actually slightly advanced, so he's not back in. Messi makes a little run in here, and then this is Vidic here. So Pedro looks to threaten the space in this side, Vidic makes that run in there, then he checks his run up slightly further wide. Xavi plays a ball the outside of his right foot into Pedro's position. Vidic is now trying to pivot his body round to try and block the strike as the strike's coming in. Van der Sar, just to note on here as well, as Pedro's entering the box, Vidic is coming in. He's made 2 or 3 saves already, and a couple of strikes, one from Villa that's gone across the goal, he's made a good save, and a couple of other moments where he's anticipated the ball to go across the goal and he's been correct. In this moment here, he's leant to his right hand side, anticipating a strike across goal, and he's actually left a bigger space in the front post. Pedro, what he's done is he's just side-footed the ball into the near post. Vidic just tried to block it with some emergency defending, can't quite reach there, and that's 1-0 to Barcelona. So Van der Sar's point of view, I'm only speculating here, I think maybe anticipation of what happened in the game already in terms of some of the strikes across the goal, but also I think maybe because of his age, he was about 40 years old, 39, 40 years old, he might be thinking, I need to anticipate things a bit quicker because I can't get down as quick. So, and then it looks more silly than what it is, because on the angle, a goalkeeper should never get beaten, especially with a side foot strike, should never get beaten at the front post. There's a bit more of an argument if there's a strike that's extremely powerful and it goes into the sort of the top corner, where it's more difficult for a keeper to sort of get up to. So that was 1-0, 27 minutes gone, and probably Barcelona deserved their 1-0 advantage at that stage. Game continued for the next few minutes, and I'm just going to add something that didn't happen from the 2009 final. So I just wanted to go back on to 2009 final. So Barcelona went 1-0 up sort of midway through the first half, and Manchester United were unable to get back into the game in terms of a scoreline. Whereas in this game here, it was really, really important from a mindset point of view for Manchester United to not necessarily score a goal quickly, but certainly sort of get hold of the ball, create some chances, look as though they might threaten to score. So it moved to minute 34, and actually the game evolved. Manchester United did actually, they looked strong. They didn't necessarily create loads of chances. Just move a few of these personnel forward. But they didn't certainly allow Barcelona to sort of control the game at that point. They showed some front foot attacking play. The ball was in this wide position here, actually, with Wayne Rooney, actually. And he's actually played a 1-2 with Mark Carrick. So Mark Carrick's in here. There's a 1-2 round an opponent. So Rooney plays a 1-2 into there to Carrick, and then continues his run in there. Carrick plays it back to him. Carrick continues his run back into his shape. Giggs is actually more advanced than Carrick actually at the time. And he finds himself in this position over here, sort of drifting as that play is taken on. He's making a run to this position. Rooney's driving the ball. He commits PK semi and plays a 1-2 round him. So he passes the ball to PK in there and continues his run. Giggs controls it with his thigh, and then sort of a nice weighted pass back into Rooney's stride, back in there, and then just inside the box he actually sweeps the ball into the far top corner. It's actually a really, really smart finish. So that was 7 minutes after Pedro had scored, and that was really, really important from Manchester United's point of view in terms of belief, in terms of confidence, in terms of not them negative thoughts coming back from 2011, in terms of having to chase the ball and sort of losing lots of their energy in that sense, because Barcelona can do that to you, and I will touch on that a bit more as the game unfolds. So that was 1-1. Between minutes 34 and 45, Man United were actually quite fortunate to stay in the game. They conceded probably 3 or 4 chances in that period. Carrick could quite easily concede a penalty. Very smart play actually. He pulled down Messi's shirt before the cross was made, so no one really noticed it. But Messi couldn't quite reach. But there's other couple of opportunities as well where Van der Sar's made a couple of saves as well. So at that point there, Man United were absolutely taking a 1-1 at half time. Into the second half, and the same pattern emerged. Barcelona had a lot of the ball, and Manchester United looking for the counter-attack when appropriate. Incidentally, Barcelona did have 63% possession of the football. It actually was up at 70% at one stage during the game, but it wasn't until that was only until Man United had a sort of a late surge in the last sort of 15 to 20 minutes where they actually regained a bit more of the possession. So it was up at 70, but reduced down to 63. On top of that, Barcelona did make 662 completed passes, which again, you expect them to make high numbers. Maybe not that high in a Champions League final, but nevertheless, that just gives you an idea of how Barcelona play and how Guardiola wants his teams in particular to play as well. So moving forward to minute 54, and got a situation in here, so I'll just retreat some of these players back in. Just move Man United players back in. 10, in there. Something like that, and the ball was actually in with Iniesta in here, and that's right, Marco Carrick, Ryan Giggs, and actually Park Ji-sung was sort of over tucking actually. He was in there like that. It's really, really interesting to see actually how sort of Barcelona have manoeuvred some of their players about, the opposition about, sorry. So Iniesta's got the ball in here, and if you noticed here, I'm not sure if you can quite see the numbers, but this is actually now Ryan Giggs and this is actually Park. So it wasn't natural, it wasn't a tactical decision from Sir Alex Ferguson to switch them around. This is how the game unfolded in the game. So Park's now actually more central in here. Iniesta has the ball here. He looks for a square pass into Lionel Messi. Park actually tries to intercept, he can't quite reach. So he's kind of gone in there, and there's a massive space in here. So Messi actually attacks his space in here. Giggs is covering Dani Alves out wide. Pedro will be a bit more advanced, just in there, like that. And actually what happens is Messi attacks the space, Evra tries to engage and try and block the ball. He can't quite do that. strike comes in, he actually goes in Van der Sar's left-hand side of the goal, what I call the three-quarter goal. So it wasn't right in the corner, and it wasn't in the middle, it was actually in the three-quarter. Maybe a little bit disappointing, Van der Sar will say, but again, it might be, I'm giving probably not enough credit to Messi. There was a lot of venom in the strike, a lot of power, and maybe Van der Sar was slightly unsighted as well. But maybe on another day he would have said to himself, "Do you know what? I probably should have saved that." But it's a Champions League final, and anything can happen, nerves, etc. So that was 2-1. It's 54 minutes gone. Very, very difficult at this stage for Man United to sort of not necessarily get back in the game, but to stick to the game plan. They're probably thinking, let's not overly commit, because if we overly commit, we're going to get hit in the counter. They're going to have more space. They're going to hurt us. So just sort of sticking to their game plan. There'll come a point where maybe when the game's still 2-1 with 10-15 minutes to go, they can chuck more advanced players, more fresh players onto the pitch, and then try and hurt Barcelona that way. So the game was ebbing and flowing. Barcelona had some attacks, United had some attacks, but predominantly Barcelona carried on having a lot of possessions of football. They created many, many chances. They actually created 19 chances during the game, 12 on target, which is a good ratio. If you compare that to Manchester United, they only had 5 shots during the game and only 1 on target, which was the Wayne Rooney goal. So again, that gives you a bit of an indication of how the game flowed and how both teams were able to impose their game plans and philosophies during the game. Moving on to minute 69. Game again is ebbing and flowing. Manchester United have just moved some of these personnel back. So Man United sort of in this position here. Back over there, 4-8, to do that like that. So Messi actually drifts into this wide position here. He's got the ball over here. So what happens is Messi has the ball on the right position, and at this stage here, Nani's come off Manchester United, so he's in the wide position just here. He takes him on a 1v1, gets past him quite easily, gets to sort of the byline, drives in, looks to pass the ball into, I think it was David Villa just in here, and gets intercepted from Michael Carrick. His interception was a pass that was meant to be going to Patrice Evra, but Nani sticks out his leg and it actually lands to Sergio Busquets, who's actually inside the box, which is really unusual for him, unless it was a set piece. So he found himself in the box. He set the ball back to David Villa, who's on the edge of the box just here, and Rio Ferdinand tries to sprint out to block the ball, and he uses him as a shield, bends into the top corner around him into here, and Van der Sar on that one there had no chance. That was postage stamped. It was a fantastic strike, a really precision strike. And that's 3-1 with less than sort of 20-25 minutes to go. Now Manchester United even have to go for it even more. So Champions League final, there's no point waiting for, well, you can't wait for anything really, because it's a Champions League final. 3-1 down. This is where Man United sort of have a bit more possession of the football. Nani's come on, they've made other substitutions as well. They're trying to obviously get another goal and create a bit of pressure that way. But because of that way of Man United being more attacking, that left even more space for Barcelona, and they had even more chances to create score more goals. To note, what Barcelona really do, they pass. It's something called the 3 Ps in football, and I think Barcelona are the best at it. They are pass, probe and penetrate. And they get you in positions where you don't necessarily want to be, but you're in this position here. Let's get back over there. And they get you into these sort of positions where they've got you in a nice shape, and you think you're doing quite well, but actually you're not. What they're doing is they're probing, they're making them penetrating passes, and eventually someone's going to fall asleep, or someone's going to be not having that enough energy to get to a position where it might be that Ryan Giggs is doing a good job here in shielding that pass into Messi, but as the game evolves, he might be that fraction wider, and that allows Busquets to play that clever ball inside, and then someone can feed off Messi, or the wide players can join in. So, although the plan might not be working in every game in terms of them scoring goals early on, it's effectively wearing the opposition down, and eventually they they'll look for them 3Ps, which they'll keep doing throughout the game, and they'll get the opportunities. They sap the energy out of you, and they lure you into thinking that you can win the ball, you can intercept the ball, but you can't. You just got to be really patient or really aggressive or early in your. If you are going to go and try and nick the ball, you've got to be really early, but you also got to make sure 100% you're going to win the ball. If not, they will exploit and hurt you, which they do to a lot of teams, and they did to a lot of teams in this era. So the game evolved. Man United had a few more chances. Barcelona had plenty of chances themselves. But unfortunately for Manchester United, they couldn't overturn the game. One other statistic to note as well, going back to the 3Ps, because Manchester United were trying to get the ball back, and because Barcelona trying to lure you into to nick the ball, like I said, they committed loads and loads of fouls during the game. In actual fact, it was 16 they made, which was over 200% more than what Barcelona made. And that's what Barcelona do to you. They will lure you in to make them fouls, and they want that to happen as well, because that encourages yellow cards for the referee to dish out, and maybe second yellows as well going forward. And if an influential player gets booked, then the opposition manager might think, I need to take him off, I can't afford to go to 10 men as well. So this game finished 3-1 to Barcelona. It was known as the Pep final, the Barcelona final, the tiki-taka football, Barcelona football in 2011. This was a high education for most teams watching this game throughout Europe and in the Premier League in particular. A lot of teams wanted to play like this. It's probably why a lot of teams are playing like this now in 2020, because of what Guardiola's team did to Manchester United and how teams wanted to evolve across not only just in the Premier League but across the whole of Europe. A lot of teams want to play like this, especially the big teams. One other thing to sort of conclude on as well with Barcelona is, they have a lot of possession of the football. I touched on the percentage of possession they had and how many passes they made, but also they're actually a really, really hard-working team. To note, in this final, they ran as a team, 108 kilometres, which was 4 kilometres more than Manchester United. And you would think, if they've got a lot of possession of the football, as this is Barcelona, have a lot of possession of the football, and Manchester United are in their shape and they're sort of running around making sure they block passing lanes and be aggressive and press the ball, etc. You'd think they'll be making them more runs, but in actual fact, Barcelona are so aggressive with their movement. I think that's key. When they have got possession, they make sure there's plenty of off-the-ball movement, so they can create passing lanes for them to find each other and create spaces for each other. But also the other side of it as well, if they do lose possession, they press the ball really, really quickly. They had the 6-second rule where they want to try and win the ball back within 6 seconds. And if you've got the opposition crammed in their half, it's easier to win the ball back because you know exactly where the opposition are and you know where to sort of attack in terms of closest player towards the opposition player, and you can go and press the ball. So they're a very, very hard-working team. Don't be fooled to think they aren't a hard-working team. They ran a lot, and that's fair play to Guardiola to install that work ethic in the team as well as obviously playing really, really pretty football. So in terms of Manchester United, it's easy in hindsight to sort of say you should have done this, you should have done that. I just think against the Barcelona team, with those three in particular in midfield and Messi dropping into pockets, you can't afford to just have two in there in terms of Giggs and Carragher. Giggs was 35, 36 in that final as well, so he's not a young, he's not like a 21-year-old who can rat around all day. He's don't get me wrong, he's fit, but he's just against those four, it's very, very difficult. So maybe in hindsight, Manchester United could have played three in there and maybe sacrificed one of the strikers and thought, if we can frustrate Barcelona in the way they want to play and entice them on a bit more, allowing sort of bigger spaces for if it's a Wayne Rooney up here to make a run and say it was a Valencia and maybe a Nani maybe a start on, those spaces would have been bigger for Manchester United to sort of counter on. But that's just a small thing that maybe in hindsight they could have done, but you can't blame Sir Alex Ferguson for making that decision. He probably, like I said earlier, I touched on earlier, it's our strength, we're going to go for it against their weakness. Let's try and go for it. So that's the end of episode 3 of Analysis and Tactics Board, Barcelona versus Manchester United Champions League final. Like I said earlier, hit the subscribe button, hit a like, and leave some comments. The comments are really, really important to me. I'll try and get back to as many people as I can, and we'll see everyone on the next episode.